Well, the Celtics are in some deep shit, if you ask me. They are now down 2-0 in this series. Despite having home court advantage, they dropped Game 1 and Game 2 yesterday to the Miami Heat. The 8th-seeded Miami Heat, led by Jimmy Butler, who continues to just add to his playoff legend. And honestly, I apologize to the Heat. Last year when they were the number 1 seed, I wasn't a believer in their half-court offense, and then Jimmy turned it the fuck up in the playoffs and made it all the way to a Game 7 in the Eastern Conference Finals against the Celtics. And then this year, 8th seed, sputtering most of the year, offense wasn't great, everybody regressed shooting, even the great shooters on Miami regressed on the regular season. They were 3 minutes away from losing to the Bulls in the second play-in game and being eliminated altogether. And yet here they are, 2 wins away from the NBA Finals with Game 3 and Game 4 in Miami. Just incredible. Any team with Erik Spoelstra and a star player, I'm not going to doubt them anymore. And not that I doubted, the coach or the star itself, just the surrounding talent. And also I'm high on Bam Adebayo as well. But yeah, the Heat are incredible. Heat culture's the real thing. I think that's one thing this playoff run has done is it's eliminated all of the Heat culture jokes that, me and a lot of people who create content or talk about basketball for a living tend to make. But the Heat are in a prime position now to go to the finals and take out a team that, quite frankly, just unserious. Like, the Celtics have had a lot of success in the Tatum Brown era, conference finals, but the lapses, the stretches of play where I'm like, is Joe Mazzulla really... I know he's a rookie coach, and I know he's a rookie coach that took his team to the conference finals, but he's been getting his ass beat in every single series. He got outcoached by Doc Rivers, which is not... he got outcoached by Doc Rivers, and then he played the trump card where he played Ime Udoka's preferred lineup last year. He's getting his ass kicked by Spoelstra. Even Quinn Snyder was able to get 2 wins off that Celtics team. And if you just look at those 2 teams, the Hawks and the Celtics, talent-wise, there's no way the Celtics should have lost 2 of those games. It should have been a sweep, honestly. But here we are. The Celtics, I think, they can definitely win 2 back-to-back road games. But with the way the Heat are coached, with the way Jimmy's playing right now, I do not see the Celtics winning Game 3. I think this series is over, honestly, but just, the third quarter last night, the Celtics were rolling. Jason Tatum had 15 points. They really actually, and Stan Van Gundy pointed this out on the broadcast a lot yesterday, they really found success with Tatum in the pick and roll with mostly Robert Williams, but also Al Horford. And if it wasn't a direct assist from Tatum, it was the hockey pass or the boom, boom, tic-tac-toe 3. And the Celtics were humming in the third quarter, and they were up 9 until Grant Williams... Well, they were up 9 after Grant Williams hit that 3, and then just started talking mad shit to Jimmy Butler, which I am all for shit talking. I think competitive shit like that belongs in sports and is great for sports. But that may be one person I would not want to talk to. But anyway... After that, Jimmy Butler just proceeded to fry Grant Williams alive until they took him out of the game. And then by that point, it was too late. Bam Adebayo also had a great game. Even though he didn't shoot particularly well from the field, he still had 22 points, 17 rebounds, 9 assists, and the key thing, 1 turnover. Just 1. The Heat are using everything at their disposal. Gabe Vincent, Max Strus, key buckets. Kyle Lowry in the new bench role has been brought back from the dead ever since he moved to the bench. Caleb Martin, too, who was awesome yesterday with 25 points. Seems like every shot he took yesterday, it just seemed like it was going in. Duncan Robinson back in the rotation in these playoffs and doing his thing, shooting 3 of 6 from 3, setting screens. The handoff chemistry with Bam is still there. Like, the Heat can attack the Celtics in some different ways than the Sixers could. With the Sixers, it was just the spam Harden and Embiid pick and roll. Oh, we're going to take the pocket pass away. Let's try to run pick and roll on the other side of the floor. Oh, wait, no, we stopped that. The Heat can run pick and roll with Jimmy. If that doesn't work, they can flow into a dribble handoff with Bam and the shooters around him. The Heat have all kinds of movement shooters with Vincent, Strus, even Lowry can shoot off the bounce a little bit off of movement. Duncan Robinson, of course. I was listening to the Low Post podcast, and he mentioned that the Lowry-Zeller pick and roll before last night's game was averaging, it was like 37 total possessions they've run a Lowry-Zeller pick and roll in these playoffs, and they have scored 1.8 points per possession. And Lowe got that off of Second Spectrum, obviously, which I do not have access to, but that was a stat that I heard that blew my mind. Like, the Heat, they find players, they play to those players' strengths, and they find value in it and try to exploit that. Like, whenever Duncan Robinson is in the game, it's no coincidence that the Heat go to zone immediately. And their coverages, their personnel have kind of made the Celtics double big lineup of Rob Williams and Al Horford, that starting lineup for the Celtics, kind of not as effective as it was in the Sixers series. With the way the Heat run their offense, with the way they move people around, and with how the Heat use Bam differently with the dribble handoffs, and he has that little, he'll also will always have that little 14-footer because they are letting Bam score one-on-one and they'll be fine with it. It made the Celtics double big lineup really ineffective, and you saw that in the second half when the Celtics made the change and went with Derek White instead, who, by the way, is just getting hunted by Jimmy Butler. That is the one player, and Derek White, all-NBA defensive guard, had him on my all-defensive team. Jimmy Butler does not care about that, apparently, because he is searching out Derek White. He is out-muscling him, and Derek White actually held up on a few plays where he was switched out onto Jimmy. Like, he had a few blocks at the rim. Jimmy had a few plays where he tried to move Derek White with his shoulder, got to the rim, but was still off balance because Derek White was able to recover enough. But Jimmy is just comfortable attacking Derek White. Jimmy is also guarding Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown and taking advantage of the fact that Jaylen Brown can't dribble. Bam Adebayo, his switchability, man, is so key in this series because, you know, Joel Embiid can switch every once in a while, but as you saw in Game 7, if it's over and over and over and over again with no point of attack defenders to help mitigate some of that, it's just going to be a field day of threes. And Bam's switchability and actually being able to get down in a stance and guard like a guard and stay in front of Jaylen Brown, who went 7 for 23. He was stuck on Jason Tatum some, even though that Tatum caused Bam a little bit of problems, and Bam did have 5 fouls, so that's a downside to that. It was enough to slow the Celtics down, and then from the minute Grant Williams talked shit to Jimmy Butler, it was over. And yes, I know people don't want to. We do this weird thing now in the post-2010 NBA media coverage where we try to pretend that, you know, narratives within a game don't matter anymore. And yes, we did lean too far into that back in the day, but there are still some things that matter. Like, no, it's not narrative. Grant Williams poked Jimmy Butler, and you could tell he was fired up to kill him every time Grant Williams was switched down onto Jimmy. Jimmy hit Grant Williams with a too small after hitting a layup over him. Jimmy shook his head after he hit a fadeaway. Or no, it was that baseline jumper where it kind of looked like a push shot, but he made it and put the Heat up 2. It was like 100-98, and Jimmy Butler ran back shaking his head. And then there was another time where Jimmy drove on Grant Williams, hit a baseline fadeaway, and Jimmy Butler ran back looking at the Heat bench doing the thing with his thumb where he was like, get him out of here. Like, he can't fucking guard me. So yeah, Grant Williams poked the bear, and Jimmy Butler, I think the Heat went on a 22-9 run after that. I mean, that matters. Like, Grant Williams, like, look, I love the shit talking and all that stuff, and he played some really good minutes yesterday, but sometimes you just gotta let a sleeping dog lie down. And he didn't. The dog bit back, and now the Celtics are on the verge of going home soon, like swept or in 5, because I do not see them pulling out 2 games in Miami. I can kind of see them pulling out 1, but this series I think is over.